So I am an entrepreneur, and I absolutely love to get in a group with other entrepreneurs and talk about what they're doing,
Ideas.
get ideas off of each other. A group of 8 entrepreneurs sitting around talking about business. I love that.
I do too. It's infectious, and there's a spirit in the air of this can get done, whatever the subject is. So they might be going down this path, you might be going here, but entrepreneurs encourage each other, and they have a strong belief that they can achieve a thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like to call it deliberate success.
Deliberate success. Very cool. Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill with Live Simple, Live Free, and I'm sitting here, I'm actually in Austin, Texas right now, sitting here with my friend Monty. We've stayed a few extra days and we're thoroughly enjoying it. So one thing that I really love about Monty is that he is an entrepreneur extraordinaire.
Oh, thank you. What a nice thing to say.
And we really love talking about business and bouncing different kind of ideas off of each other. And I love every time that we get together with you.
I do too. It's been a pleasure being with you and Elizabeth, and not just your company, your mind. I've liked how we've talked about some concepts. We talked about them. We put them in place. We even took the time to film them, and said this is a program, a platform, a methodology we want to pass to other people, and we believe it'll be successful, and we believe it, and we're going to apply it and help others.
Absolutely. So what is entrepreneurship? It's a mentality. It's a way of thinking.
It really is.
And it's all based on this. The middle class, those who do not have an entrepreneurial mind, those who get a job and trade hours for dollars, have a basic outlook of that this is a world of scarcity. That there's only a certain amount of resources to go around, a certain amount of wealth to go around, and you got to grab your piece of it. There are only a certain number of jobs, and you can hope you can find one. Someone who is an entrepreneurial minded person believes the world is a world of abundance. There's all kinds of opportunities out there, and in fact, with that type of thinking, it's possible to actually create wealth.
Yes.
Now, I'll be using the word wealth, and I'm talking about millionaires, but not necessarily. By creating wealth or creating income, I might be talking about somebody who makes $100,000 a year. For someone in the poverty level, that may sound wealthy, but it really isn't. But what I'm talking about is earning a comfortable living income, whether that's $1 million or $100,000. It's people who believe in abundance in the world that can create that kind of income.
That's so true.
Yeah. So, how do you create wealth out of nothing? Is that possible?
People do it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely.
They usually start with a belief of something they want to go do because it'll have a result of X for them, or they're willing to discover. They might not know exactly what it'll get for them in the beginning. They just know there's a high return if they put this effort in and work it. They can get a return, and they believe it can be helpful to them.
Right. Now, it comes initially from a creative mind.
Sure.
To let your mind go and look at the possibilities. I want to give you 2 examples of friends of mine who've done something like this. When I was in the Army, I had a good friend of mine, and when he got out of the Army, he became a fireman. And he actually retired from the fire department, had a good career there. But I don't know exactly what his schedule was, but I know that when he was on duty for 24 hours at a time. Now, of course, they could sleep in the fire hall unless they were on call for a fire. But because he worked 24 hours at a time, he had a lot of days off. I don't know how many days he worked and how many he had off, but he said he had more days off than days that he worked. And he made a good income. But he said the problem was, with so many days off, he spent all that time just spending money.
Yeah.
And so he was actually kind of having some trouble financially keeping things going. So he came up with an idea. He started a business in his days off. So he looked around, he came up with an idea, and he created income for himself. he opened an aquarium service, and I'm not talking about just a pet store. He would go into professional offices around the city, doctors, dentists, lawyers, things like that. He'd go into their office, and he had a service where he would provide and service for them an aquarium for their sitting room, anywhere from like 20 gallons up to 120 gallons, and they would select the one that they wanted, and the number of fish, the type of fish, do they want goldfish or do they want exotic fish, that kind of thing. He would come in, set it up, he would maintain it. He had automatic fish feeder on there. He'd come in once a week to make sure that was working. He would come in and clean it. And he eventually had aquarium accounts in professional offices all over the city. And it eventually grew so big that I think he had to hire some people to actually do the runs. Eventually, he was able to sell the business at quite a profit.
Wow.
He created wealth out of nothing, just with an idea. And then he had the wherewithal to follow through with it. Another friend, I won't call him a good friend, I just met him and I talked to him about it for a while, but I was fascinated by it. He started a service when people buy new houses, helping them move in. He would help them set up their electric service with the local electric company, the water service, set up the mail, set up cable, or
lawn care, whatever.
Lawn care, the whole bit. He had all those things, and they would come to him, pay him a fee, and give him their information, and he would just set it all up for him. And he was actually in Florida at the time, and at first he was doing it in Florida. I think he was in the Orlando area, but I'm not sure. But eventually it went nationwide. And he's got like a dozen employees just sitting in the office, on the phone, making all these connections for all these people. Now, he's not a millionaire, but he's making several $100,000 a year that he's clearing from
He's
that.
happy. Yeah.
He's happy. He's comfortable. That was something where he created wealth out of just an idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So just let your mind go and come up with possibilities and see what comes out of it.
Sure.
And now here's another big difference. Someone who is the middle class, who does not have an entrepreneurial mind, if they actually have the guts, if you will, to start a business and it doesn't work, most of the time their attitude is, wow, that didn't work. I'll never try that again. I lost my shirt. I'll never try that again. But someone who's an entrepreneurial mind, they try something and it doesn't work, what's their reaction?
They find a resource to get information to figure out how to get it done.
Right.
They zig, they zag, they persist, and they find, in my case, I've always went and found wise counsel. Hey, I've got this roadblock. I know I can get here. I got this roadblock. You have some suggestions. The reason I'm asking you, because I think you went through this particular thing. And they go, yeah, here's what we did. Oh, that makes perfect sense. And then you constantly acquire information. If you're a student of life, you're always growing.
Right. So if I try something and it doesn't work, I'm going to either say, that didn't work, I have to find a way to make it work, or that didn't work, I have to find something else that will.
Right.
And so most entrepreneurs have been through many different businesses.
Right.
Until sometimes they're successful right away. Sometimes they go through several in a row that fail before they find one that works.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So, something that you were saying, in order to be able to be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to have an idea and then come up with a plan.
Yes.
And then just simply don't quit.
Right. And work a plan. I've never met a highly successful business person that didn't end up or wind up or create or have handed to them a plan with milestones. When I get here, we're going to do this part, it'll help the business this way. We get here, we're going to do this part, and they do that, and then they put timestamps. I think we can get there in 6 months. I met people that are 5 years. Their entire mission of getting to this part where the business is self-sufficient, it'll run on its own, it'll spew out this type of cash. It takes a 5-year run.
Right.
That takes a special person to do that. I've met other people that say, every 6 to 9 months, I'm going to make these type of adjustments, and we believe that collectively can get this result. And I've been in both parts, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, I've heard statistics, and I don't have them in front of me, and I don't have the documentation of it, But it basically said that most millionaires, now I don't want to use the term millionaire because quite frankly, being a millionaire is commonplace nowadays in this economy.
Right.
When it costs you, $300 to go to the grocery store. Being a millionaire is not uncommon. So I want to talk about just multimillionaire, the rich, okay? The statistic that I heard was that most multimillionaires have filed bankruptcy X number of times, and I don't remember what that is. But why do they do that? Because they try something and it doesn't work and they're forced into bankruptcy. And instead of saying, well, that'll never work, I'll never try that again, they try something else. And if that doesn't work, they try something else. And it might end up in bankruptcy 2 or 3 times before they find something that actually works and excels and brings them the wealth they're looking for.
That is such an amazing thing, though. If you're absolutely real, I've met some wildly successful people, and you're right. Their story, you get them talking, they'll say, yeah, we ran into this thing and it destroyed us, and so now we're doing this, and what the new this is just as interesting. It's something else, but they've applied their skills and talents over here and ran down this path, and that's to be admired. That's really to be admired.
Robert Kiyosaki, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a very rich man in Hawaii, he lives in Hawaii, and he wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
And he's now got a whole series of books that I've read most of them. That's the thing, if you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, learn from others who are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So I've read most of his books. But in his very first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, something that I really recommend, he talked about the difference between owning a job and owning a business. And he said many people who are business owners think they own a business, but they don't. They own a job. So what's the difference? Okay. I was a contractor for many years. I built houses. I had a crew. I would run a crew. I would go out every day. I was the manager of the crew. I would also do the sales to find new customers, all those sorts of things. I didn't own a business. I owned a job because if I didn't work, I didn't make any money. If I didn't work, my crew didn't make money. So I owned my job. Instead of checking in with a boss, I was responsible for creating the work, but I had to work in order to make the money. So how do I own a business? Well, if I had grown it big enough to where I had 2 or 3 crews working and hire a manager for each crew to build 3 houses at the same time, and then hire somebody in the office to take care of all the accounting, hire somebody else in the office to take care of all the sales, to get new customers, and then I could just step away and let it run by itself and pull profit off the top. Now I own a business. If you can step away from it and it can not only continues to work but builds itself, that's a true business.
Well said.
And so if you're working, trading hours for dollars, you're just an employee, the first step is to own a job, to do something like a contractor where you're still working for money, but you're in control of it. And then you can scale it up into where you actually own a business.
Absolutely.
And that was a distinction that I had never heard before, and I was fascinated by it. So I'd look at me with my construction company, and I would look at the local big construction company. They built like 80% of the houses that went up in my area. They had a big, huge 4-story building that was their office, and that was a true business.
Yes.
Because they started like I did, and they just scaled up and scaled up. It's like Ray Kroc, who instead of having one little hamburger joint, he scaled it up into McDonald's.
Yes.
It's the mentality of how you do that.
Absolutely correct.
So, just a couple of real short little ideas of things that you can do to start your own business. And these are several things that I dabbled with. One of them, there's a company online called RV Share. Make sure I've still got time here. There's a website called RV Share where if you own an RV, you can rent it out. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
People go to RV Share and they look at all the different rentals there, and you can actually rent out your RV to somebody. And a lot of people do that. They'll buy a new RV and then they'll rent it out when they're not using it, just for enough to pay for the payment on the RV. And then they can schedule it in, so if they're going to be gone for a month in their RV, they just don't rent it during that time.
Smart.
But a lot of people are scaling it up, and they'll do that, and they'll pay off their RV, and then they'll buy 2 or 3 or 4 more, and they've basically now created their own, Hertz rent-a-car, but for RVs instead.
That's slick.
And you can start with one RV and just scale it up, and you can have eventually as many RVs as you want. There are also now several companies where you can do that with your car as well. I knew a guy who went to Hawaii, and there were no cars available at all to rent from the big car companies. I don't know the name of the website he went to, but he was able to rent someone's personal car from this little website.
That's brilliant.
For about half the price of what the U-Haul,
Sure.
Hertz was going for.
Sure.
So that's just, there's all kinds of ideas like that. You were telling me about somebody that you knew, something about used pallets.
Oh, I ran into this fellow that wound up picking up. He was doing well, and I ran through a friend of a friend. And he was doing well, and he was talking about how happy he was in life now, and how broke he had been most of his life. And I said, "What changed?" He goes, "I don't know. I was working with construction sites, and there was these pallets all over the place, and they were just burning them, or they were throwing them away." And I thought, there's a lot of things there. And he started collecting pallets. And he's found a way to redistribute them. Sometimes he'd actually make things out of them. And it turned into a full-time business. And he's not wildly rich, but he's happy. He's making $100,000 plus a year. And he just saw the opportunity of something somebody else wasn't doing. And he thought, what if I applied myself? I wonder if there is. I bet I could. He had that kind of thinking. And what do you know? His what if, I bet I could, turned out to be true. And he went out and applied himself. And he had a big route. And he sold his business.
When I was a truck driver, I used to do what was called pallet runs. You know, a manufacturer builds stuff and they put it on a pallet to ship to Walmart, for instance. Well, I won't say Walmart, some other store because Walmart probably has their own system. But they ship it out to some place, and the store eventually accumulates all these pallets. So there was a separate company, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but this separate company basically did what you're talking about. They would go to this store and they would buy the pallets, used pallets from them for
next to nothing.
Because the company just needs to get away from them.
Right.
Get them away. So then this pallet company had entire warehouses full of empty pallets, and then I would take my truck, big semi, and go, and they would load the entire thing with empty pallets, and then I would deliver that to a manufacturer who needed to use them to ship them out to stores again.
Wow.
And the pallet company was a separate entity, a middleman dealing in used pallets, picking it up from stores after they unloaded the truck and delivering it to the stores that needed them. And it was a full-time business, and I would do many loads a month sometimes, full truckloads full of pallets.
And it's just seeing an opportunity or seeing something and realizing it is an opportunity.
Exactly.
And that's the difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who just holds a job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right. And it's so fun to sit down with creative minds like that and people that see the value of persistence and planning and executing against that. I can't get enough of it.
No, me either. I thoroughly enjoy it. I could sit down in a group of entrepreneurs and talk all day long about ideas. And there might be any one thing that one of them says that spurs an idea on something that I want to try or something that I'm already doing that will help me do it better.
So true, and that's you can go out and do something tomorrow that'll change your life if you decide to.
Absolutely. So Monty, I started this out by saying that you are a true entrepreneur. You've been doing entrepreneurial things all your life. You want to tell me a little bit about some of the things that you've done or how you came about doing that?
Sure. So some people who know me know I actually was CEO and chairman of a venture capital firm for 25 years. And we would go seed and invest companies, taken some companies to be publicly traded, done in that process a lot of mergers and acquisitions, pushing companies together and things like that. But one of my early starts in marriage, Debbie and I built the second largest low voltage electrical firm in the state of Washington, got it up to like 50 employees, 40 vehicles, and we sold that to a Texas company. And in that process, I ran into some people that said, and it's just what we just got through talking about entrepreneurship. Well, hey, you sold a company and you did this. Could you help me do this? And next thing you know, I turned it into an enterprise of doing that full time. And it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, we've taken some companies to be publicly traded. Some of those are just wildly interesting. The .com, I got in early at that phase as well. We did a gigantic capital raise. And what we were talking about is in that, one of the things before we would get involved with the company is we always looked for, and I said this word, people use other words, the spirit of the person and what they're doing. And what I mean by that is, are they I can get this done, just show me how? Am I believe in what I'm doing, I know there's some zigs and zags I need some expert help with. And though that's what we look for, people that say they can get something done, and they, the worst thing is an entrepreneur who thinks they know absolutely every aspect of the business. I know accounting, I know legal, I know process, I know manufacturing, I know all these things. No, you don't. Not as a start if you don't. You got to learn those things.
Right.
And so when you go seek people who do know these things that help fill your bucket, you can pull off a whole lot. And that's one thing I think Debbie and I have been blessed with, is we seek help. We seek advice. We seek direction.
Right.
And that's added to our bag of tricks. And now we're kind of the people come ask advice and direction in many areas. If I don't know, I'll tell them. That's completely out of my bailiwick, but I do know 5 people who probably knows that answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key to pulling off a growing business.
Right. I've mentioned Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and one of the things that he talks about in there, he doesn't talk about the types of businesses to invest in. He
Right.
talks about the mentality of how
It's
to...
all about your mindset of life.
And one of the things he talks about is just what you're saying, that you can't do anything by yourself. You need help. You need people who know what they're doing. And he says if you want to be successful in business, you need to get into a group of entrepreneurs where you are the dumbest person in the room. Or the least experienced, or that sort of thing, where you can pull from all of these other people.
Or the most willing to learn.
Yeah, that too.
So business growth is based on your growth and your view of life. And if you think what you're doing makes sense and it can head somewhere, pursue that. And then find the people to help you on the way. And there's plenty of them.
Right. So you started off in business with the goal of going public and selling, raising millions and all those kinds of things, right? Or did you start?
No. I've kind of wound up in it.
Okay.
Because of my background and experience of selling a company and coming out quite handsomely with it, I had other people say, will you help me do this? And that took me into that deal, which was entirely different than mine. And then that one led to another. Next thing you know, I saw there's a lot of people out there that they think they need just capital, but they really need a team. They really need this. And can this turn into a business opportunity? And we created that, and that's what it was. And I worked with some attorneys who said, hey, we need some help with somebody who knows how to run a company. We'll do the legal work. We'll help chase the money. But we're tired of these things crashing and burning. Will you come in and help get them going off to the right foot? And that just was so much fun. Mm-hmm. I met some amazing people, made some great friends, and we learned a lot about business.
So you started small, and then as you learned, you scaled up.
Yes.
That's the main thing I wanted to get across, is that you didn't just launch into this big...
No, you don't go open a front door and say, I'm a venture capitalist, come on, we can raise money. No. I had done some acquisitions to make this my own. In my own company, we acquired a couple of competitors and rolled them together, became a bigger deal, made ourselves more valuable. Mm-hmm. So, yes.
Now, for your own entrepreneurial journey here, you're involved in several different things right now. One of the things that you're involved in is Thrive Life.
Yes.
And he's like me. He's one of the leaders in Thrive Life, and we're really going for it. And you're successful in Thrive Life.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about multi-level businesses or direct sales. Because I get all kinds of comments on this channel. People who refer to that as a pyramid, or even worse, a pyramid scheme. And if they just say pyramid, they mean scheme, and when they say scheme, that means shady or illegal.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that immediately think it's unethical, it's not
Right.
proper, it's not real business. I've heard that. And
Well, Robert Kiyosaki said in talking about how to become an entrepreneur, I've heard him recently several times say the fastest and easiest and most inexpensive way for someone to scale their wealth is to start start in a direct sales company as a consultant or something, selling products, whatever multi-level business that is. So even he, who's a multi-millionaire, is recommending that you start with a direct sales company or a multi-level company.
sure.
So what exactly is that, and how does that work, and why is it not a scheme or an illegal thing? You see multi-level type businesses all the time, you just don't realize it.
Right.
Let's talk about, for instance, a used car salesman. Okay, I want to go start a used car lot, so I do that, and I'm selling, and soon I got more volume than I can handle myself, so I hire a couple of salesmen. So what do I do with them? The salesman gets paid commission, and when he sells a car, he gets a commission. I get an override on that because I own the business. That's really multi-level because he is responsible for going out and getting his own sales, but when he makes a sale, I get an override on that. That's like in the multi-level business, that's my first level consultants under me. Now, let's say that the business is really successful and I want to go and start another one, a second used car lot across town, but I don't have enough time to manage both of them, so I hire a manager over there, and he hires his salesman. So that manager is like my first level consultant, and the salesman that he hires is my second level consultant.
And you can say that about this. That's a great example. You could also say everything you just said about every name out there you know. A franchise, a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Taco Bell. I know I'm using food, but there's other franchises. Right. Same thing. The corporate headquarters says, you got to do it this way. You don't get to pick what time the store opens. You don't get to pick what food it is. You're going to follow this equation. You're basically, a franchisee is buying a job, and they write a big fat check to do so. And what do you know? They're making overrides on everybody in their business.
Right.
I mean, McDonald's, I did a study in school and did a report on McDonald's. They used to say in 5 years you'll be a millionaire. But you have to do exactly what we say, no differences, and you'll be making a percentage off of every employee will have this much. They'll generate this much in sales at the front counter, this much sales at the drive-through, and you're going to make this much revenue. Your rent is here, the overage is here. Oh, by the way, we as a franchise owner take this fee off the top.
Right. Right.
And so that's no different than direct sales.
Exactly right.
It's the same exact equation. The problem is, unlike a 7-Eleven that does that and does a franchise and you do it, you don't get a pistol in your face in the middle of the night. And you don't write a check for $750,000 just to get started with a 7-Eleven. And did you know the average 7-Eleven makes about $100,000 a month in cash flow? And that's the average.
100,000 in sales.
In sales,
Okay.
and that's not revenue, it's sales.
Right.
And that's the highs and the lows. There's worse and there's better. And you and I do that in our business plus.
Right.
And we did it with a starting cost of a few $100.
That's right.
And the really bad news is we made a bunch of great friends on the way.
Yeah, imagine that. So getting back to the used car lot, if I hire a manager for my second lot and then he hired a salesman, that's like my second level in a multi-level. They make a sale, they get a commission, the lot manager gets a commission, and I take an override on top of that. That's the same thing as any network marketing or multi-level company out there. I don't know how it got such a bad name, except that I think a lot of people fail at it and think, oh, it's only the people that are at the top that make the money. Yeah. Well, I came into Thrive Life. I'm not at the top. I'm nowhere near the top. But within 4 years, I was able to quit my truck driving job because I'm making enough income from Thrive Life and from YouTube to be able to quit. So it has nothing to do with where you are if you're only at the top. It has to do with learning what you're doing and going and without quitting. What do we say? Get an idea, selling Thrive Life, get a plan. Learn how to do it. And then once you learn, just simply don't quit.
Right, and execute against the plan.
And those people in Thrive Life or in any other company that are doing that are succeeding wildly. In fact, the network marketing industry is one of the industries that have created the most number of millionaires.
Sure.
So it really is a legitimate business. It's a legal business. It's also very closely regulated by the Federal Trade Commission.
Sure.
So there's nothing shady about it. And I think that a lot of the people that disparage network marketing are people that have tried and failed.
Right.
And the statistics, something like 80 to 90% of people who start in network marketing fail.
Yes.
But it's the same with every other business. Every small business out there, every new startup business out there, it's got an 80, 90% failure rate.
Let me add to that. I actually, in my venture capital days, we took in a guy, and one of his exit strategies, as we call it, was to go become a franchisee of his project. And I started looking at franchises, and the failure rate on franchises is wildly high.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we know McDonald's and the big names, but you don't know the names of the 10,000 before that just failed, and they took a lot of money down with them.
Mm-hmm.
All these people that invested in the franchise, I've met people who invested in startup franchises and lost $100,000 or more.
Yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't work. So it doesn't work unless it's an entirely good project process, all the things are in place. So, hating a company because it's their format of the business is not good common sense, nor is it good business analysis. And I look for things that with a reasonably low regulatory hand on them and a low startup cost and a wide, vast appeal to marketplace, you start getting those things in common, you can have a wildly successful anything.
Mm-hmm. You talked about someone that wants to start a McDonald's has to pay $750 for a...
No, $750,000 for a 7-Eleven.
Oh, 7-Eleven. Okay.
Yeah, McDonald's is millions.
Yeah, okay. And the thing of it is, you pay the millions or whatever to buy a franchise from McDonald's, and then you have to pay to build the building.
Yes.
And it has to be to their specifications. So it costs you millions to get into that.
Yeah.
7-Eleven, you said 750,000. There are, I'm sure, others that are smaller, but you're still going to pay 30, 50,000, 100,000 to buy the franchise.
Yes.
And then you still have to provide the facility. Network marketing companies, you can get into a system that allows you to build that kind of wealth for pennies compared to everything else.
Right.
I mean, for a couple $100, you can usually buy into a network marketing company.
Right, and there are people making lots and lots of money in direct sales, multi-level companies, that their products just don't make sense to me, and nor would I have any interest, but yet they're wildly successful. So that tells you the model works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've got something that you really like we're involved in food, we market only to people who eat. So that makes the market pretty wide, and I really believe in the product and the company and the management of the company and all those things. I see a large upside. And so Debbie and I made the decision, we're going to push. We're going to keep pushing. We're doing 6 figures now. We're going to do significantly more than that. And this company is on a growth curve that excites me.
And it's only just starting.
Yeah.
It's the Thrive Life as a business is only just beginning.
Yes.
And they went from a startup to being the largest freeze-dry company in the United States to being the largest freeze-dry company in the world.
Yes.
And they are now the standard. Every other freeze-dry company looks to them for the standard of the quality of their food.
Yes.
And so it's very exciting. I've been with the company for 10 years now, and to see the growth, it's just wildly exciting.
And with those things you said, largest U.S., largest global, all that, they're still just barely scratching the surface of the market acceptance and the market
Right.
they can reach into.
Right.
So the market opportunity in front of you is beyond your imagination. And so that's why it's worth people's time.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me just interject here that right now, Thrive Life is only available in the USA and in Canada. They have been actively pursuing going international in the past couple of years, and they have actually built or bought warehouses and several freeze-dried plants in various different places in the world economy. And their goal is to be opening up internationally. That hasn't happened yet. They're putting the facilities together. It just takes time, folks, to do all that stuff. But eventually they will be opening up into other countries. I don't know at this point exactly which ones or when, but I guarantee you, I'll let you know when that happens. And you know, every other network marketing company that I've seen, they all have good products. They do. But
usually they have to have great products because people hate them already just because they're a direct sales company.
But most of them are a product that you have to convince somebody that they need them, and then you have to convince them to spend extra money from their budget in order to buy them. With Thrive Life, it's just food, it's just groceries. It's not even emergency food, it's just groceries.
Use it on a regular basis. Take some of your capital, push it over here, and then continue to use it.
And I want to make a distinction. It's not emergency food that you can eat on an everyday basis. It's everyday food that, it also works as emergency long-term
Yes, it has
storage.
a long shelf life. Yeah.
And people
it's
are
healthy, clean. Everything.
People are already buying groceries, so they don't have to come out with any additional money out of their budget. They just take some of the money they're spending at Walmart and spend it at your Thrive Life grocery store instead.
Right.
They're already buying food, they're already spending money on food. It's very easy to just reallocate where you spend some of that money.
And that's how we got into this business, seeing that need and realizing you could store the food and also eat it and cycle through it, and realizing how healthy it is, no additives, no preservatives, it's just a single ingredient. And then doing that, Debbie and I fairly quickly said, this is a good business opportunity, and then jumped into it.
So all the business things you've done through 30 years of business, multi-million-dollar deals and acquisitions and going public and all that kind of stuff, and you left all that behind to go with Thrive Life.
Yes, Debbie and I were at the age we're at. We're like, we love working together. A lot of people say, I can never work with my spouse. Debbie and I can't stand to be apart. We love working together.
Yeah, Elizabeth and I are the same way.
Yeah, and it's like, let's work together. Let's do something, but let's do something fun. Because I get people knocking on my door still. Hey, will you help me go do this thing? Will you help me build this? Will you do this? And I'll give you this if you do. And I get a lot of those, but I have never had as much fun, and nor have I felt as self-rewarding that I'm actually helping other people. I'm helping people bring income into their families, but the food itself, I'm helping people.
Right.
And I feel I'm doing the right thing.
Very cool. So I hope you have found this discussion about entrepreneurship to be interesting and enlightening, maybe even a little motivating. I know many people are entrepreneurial minded, but they just don't know how to get started. So I want to present to you that Thrive Life is a great way to start your entrepreneurial career if you've never done that before. Like we talked about earlier, when you start a new business, you got to have a plan, you got to learn what you're doing, and then you need to just simply don't quit. Well, Monty and I are both very involved in the company. We're very successful in the company, and we both have extensive training programs available.
And we want to work with you.
And he's my sponsor, my 2UP sponsor, so I'm in Monty's team, and so he has a lot of training available for his team, which includes me. I also have a lot of training that I've done available for my team, which is people underneath of me. So you're not going to be left alone. I have known of a lot of people who have joined a network marketing company and their sponsor wasn't really doing anything, and they were just left hanging out to dry. I guarantee you, if you join Thrive Life under me, under us, you won't be left hanging.
And I'm going to be very careful. This is not a claim of what you will do. It's a claim of what you can do.
Right.
Debbie and I got in this business, went from 0 to 100,000 a month in sales in 10 months. We did platinum in 21 months. Platinum is 200,000 a month in sales. We can show you how to do that. It's just a matter of, will you persist? Will you stick with it? Will you go there? And so what if it's 4 more months more than it took us? It's a nice payday at those levels, and we are looking for people to work closely with, to pull into a very specific program with very specific steps and milestones that you can go execute against and start building a fun Thrive Life business.
Right. And Monty has a different way of marketing than I do, and he has a complete training system on the way he markets. I have a complete training system on the way I market, and there are others who market different ways, and we
Sure.
have training available for all of those different things.
Amen. And that's the beauty of this business. There's
Right.
so many ways to do it.
That's right. So we are not guaranteeing you any kind of income. We need
No.
to do a disclaimer here. We're telling you what's possible, not what's guaranteed.
And what's been done.
And what's been done, yes, many times.
Yes.
Yep. So if you're interested at all in starting your entrepreneurial journey, I would love to have you join my team. You would have my support, you would have Monty's support. So if you want to do that, the link to my Thrive Life website is in the description down below. Please make sure you use my link, because if you just go to Google and just put in Thrive Life, you're going to end up with some other consultant or
Right.
the corporate office or something like that. Use my link, click up at the top where it says join us, and then you can just follow through the process to become a consultant. And you can do that right now for $120.
Wow.
Or you can go out and start a 7-Eleven for $750,000.
And you get the pistol in your face.
Yeah, gee, let me think. Let me think for a minute here. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. And we would love to have you join my team. And if you have any questions about any of it, you can email me. My email is down below, and I would love to answer any questions that you might have beforehand or afterwards. We can set up a phone call or a Zoom call if that would help to answer your questions.
Come earn some money and join us in the travels around the world that we earn through this company, and it's fun.
Absolutely. It's one of the things you can earn is travels to exotic places, and I've been on 7 trips to someplace in the islands. You've been on more than that, I believe.
Yeah, I think 11.
Yeah, and I've traveled all over North America and all over the Caribbean and all over Central America and made some great friends like Monty and Debbie. So come join us. We'd love to have you.
Thrive on.
Absolutely, thrive on. Thanks for watching. Live simple, live free. You be blessed.
I love it. That was great.
See you next time.